My fiancé slept with my father at my bachelor party. And that's not even the worst part. You know that feeling when your world tilts on its axis? Not like a gentle spin on a merry-go-round, but a violent, bone-jarring lurch, the kind where you're suddenly staring at the sky when you were just looking at the ground. That's what I felt. And it all started with a simple, unassuming video file. Airdropped to my phone. No name, no context, just a memory I was never supposed to have. The memory of my fiancée, my beautiful, soon-to-be wife, sleeping with my own father at my bachelor party. Let's rewind. 3 months ago, my life was a picture-perfect Instagram post. Seriously, I had the job I'd busted my ass for in downtown Austin, a sleek apartment with a skyline view that cost way too much but felt like I'd made it. And I had Amelia. Amelia. Even saying her name now feels like chewing on glass. She was luminous. That's the only word for it. The kind of woman who walks into a room and every head turns. Not just because she was gorgeous, and God, she was, with that long, dark hair and eyes that could switch from innocent doe to sultry siren in a heartbeat. It was her energy. She vibrated at a different frequency. She was a freelance graphic designer, and her creativity bled into every part of our lives. Our apartment wasn't just decorated, it was curated. Our weekends weren't just spent, they were adventures. She made life feel like a movie, and I was the lucky guy who got cast as the leading man. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. The wedding was set to be this idyllic, rustic chic affair at a winery in the hill country. Every detail was planned, every deposit paid. My tux was hanging in the closet. Her dress was a sacred secret at some high-end boutique, and the RSVPs were rolling in. We were the couple. The one everyone looked at and said, "That's what I want." My best man, Leo, had one job: throw a bachelor party that was legendary but wouldn't get me arrested or leave me with a facial tattoo. We weren't kids anymore. We were in our early 30s. The plan was a gentleman's weekend, as he called it. We rented a big, sprawling house on Lake Travis for a weekend. Steaks, whiskey, a chartered boat for a day, maybe a little too much poker. Civilized, right? My dad, Richard, was there. That was important to me. Our relationship had always been a bit formal. He's an old-school guy, a corporate lawyer who communicates more through firm handshakes and approving nods than through actual words of affection. He'd always been proud of me, I knew that. But there was a distance. He approved of Amelia, though, big time. "She's a firecracker, son," he'd said after meeting her. "Keeps you on your toes. Good for you." He saw her as a sign of my success, another box I'd ticked on the checklist of a successful life. Having him at the party, seeing him loosen his tie and share a glass of bourbon with my friends, it felt like bridging a gap. It felt good. The weekend was exactly what it was supposed to be. We grilled, we drank, we told stupid stories. Leo gave a rambling, heartfelt speech about our friendship that got a little dusty for everyone. My dad even seemed to be having a good time, laughing at jokes I didn't think he'd get. There was this one moment, I remember it so clearly. I was standing on the deck, looking out at the water, and my dad came and stood next to me. He put a hand on my shoulder.
This is it, Michael. You're doing it right.
That was it. That was all he said. But from him, it was like 1,000 words. It was validation. It was everything. The party wound down on Saturday night. People were laughing. Music was playing. The whiskey was flowing. I was happy. Genuinely, uncomplicatedly happy. The last thing I really remember is Leo and a couple of other guys dragging me out to the fire pit to shotgun a beer for old time's sake. I was drunk, sloppy, and surrounded by the most important men in my life. It felt perfect. I woke up the next morning with a skull-pounding hangover and a stupid grin on my face. The house was a wreck, but the vibe was peaceful. We cleaned up, ate greasy tacos, and headed back to our respective lives. I walked back into my apartment, and Amelia was there, fresh-faced and smiling, asking me all about it. I gave her the censored version, of course. We kissed. We ordered takeout. Everything was normal. Until the next Tuesday. I was at work, deep in a spreadsheet that was blurring my vision. My phone buzzed on the desk. An airdrop notification. iPhone wants to share a file with you. I almost declined it. I figured it was someone in the office messing around, a meme or something. But I was bored, so I hit accept. A video file. IMG 8874 move. No thumbnail. I clicked on it. The video was shaky, clearly filmed by someone drunk and trying to be subtle. The audio was muffled by the thumping bass of some generic party track I vaguely recognized from the lake house. It took me a second to get my bearings. The camera was pointing down a hallway in the rental house, peeking around a corner. And then I saw them. It was her. It was Amelia. Her back was to the camera, but I knew that hair. I knew the curve of her spine. I knew the dress she was wearing, a slinky, emerald green thing I'd bought her for her birthday. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was supposed to be having a quiet girls' night in with her friends. She was pressed up against a wall. And the man with her, his hands were in her hair, his body flush against hers. For a split second, my brain couldn't process it. I thought it was one of my friends, and a hot, blinding flash of rage went through me. Who the hell would do this? Then he turned his head slightly, just enough for the dim hallway light to catch his profile. The silver at his temples, the sharp line of his jaw, the jaw I saw in the mirror every single morning. It was my father. My world didn't just tilt, it shattered. The spreadsheet on my screen dissolved into a meaningless blur of pixels. The muffled sounds of my office, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, faded into a distant hum. The only thing that was real was the silent, grotesque movie playing on my phone. Her head tilted back, his mouth on her neck. It was a scene of pure, carnal betrayal. The video was only 17 seconds long, but it's still playing in my head, on a loop, right now. I stood up so fast my chair flew back and slammed into the cubicle wall behind me. My lungs felt like they were collapsing. I couldn't breathe. I stumbled towards the exit, fumbling for my keys, my wallet. I just had to get out. Get away. As I burst out into the dizzying Austin sunlight, my phone buzzed again. A text message. From an unknown number. I thought you should see this. There's more you don't know. And what I found later that night, in a place I never should have looked. That's what truly broke me into pieces so small, I'm still not sure I can ever put them back together. I thought the video was the worst part. I was so wrong. I drove. I don't even know where. I just got in my car and drove, the city streets a smear of color and light through the tears that were now streaming down my face. The 17-second video was seared onto the inside of my eyelids. Every time I blinked, I saw it. My fiancée, my father, the hallway, his hand, her neck. My mind was a chaotic storm of questions and denials. It had to be a mistake. A deepfake? Some kind of sick, elaborate prank? But I knew it wasn't. You can't fake the specific way she tilts her head. You can't fake the signet ring my father has worn on his right pinky finger for 30 years. It was real. I finally ended up in a parking lot overlooking Zilker Park, the engine off, the silence in the car deafening. I watched the video again. And again. And again. I became a forensic expert of my own heartbreak. I zoomed in on their faces, on their hands. I listened to the muffled audio, trying to decipher any words beneath the music. There was nothing, just the raw physical evidence of their betrayal. The rage came next. It was a clean, pure, white-hot fury that burned away the shock and the tears. How could they? Her, the woman I was about to commit my life to, and him, my own father. The man who was supposed to be my moral compass, my role model. The man who had stood on that deck and told me I was doing it right. The hypocrisy was so staggering it made me want to vomit. I thought about the bachelor party. Had she been there the whole time? Hiding? Did my friends know? Was I the only fool in this sick play? I scrolled through the photos from that weekend. There was a group shot on the boat. My dad was in the back, a weird, tight smile on his face. I'd thought it was just him being his usual reserved self. Now, it looked like the smirk of a man hiding a dirty secret. There was another photo of me, Leo, and a few other guys by the fire pit, drunk and laughing. In the background, through the sliding glass door of the house, you could just make out a reflection. A distorted shape. Was that her? I couldn't be sure. My mind was playing tricks on me, turning every shadow into a confirmation of my nightmare. And then there was the text message. There's more you don't know. What more could there possibly be? What could be worse than this? The question echoed in the silent car. It was a hook, and it had me. Whoever sent this to me wasn't just trying to inform me. They were trying to guide me, to make me dig. I drove home. The apartment, our apartment, felt alien. Every curated piece of decor, every framed photo of us smiling, felt like a prop in a lie. She wasn't home yet. Thank God. I needed time. I needed a plan. Confronting them with just the video felt incomplete. The text message had planted a seed of doubt. This wasn't a one-time drunken mistake. This was something bigger. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to be methodical. Where would she hide something? Where would he? I started in her office, a small, sunlit room where she spent hours creating beautiful designs. Everything was neat, organized. Her laptop was on the desk. I'd never snooped before. We had an open, trusting relationship. Or so I thought. The irony was a bitter pill. Her laptop was password protected, of course. I tried her birthday. No luck. Our anniversary. Nope. Her mother's maiden name. Nothing. Then I remembered something she'd said once, laughing, about the most random password she ever had. It was the name of her first pet, a hamster, combined with the street number of her childhood home. Mr. Giggles, 1428. It felt absurdly childish. I typed it in. It opened. My heart was pounding in my chest. I felt like a trespasser in my own life. I didn't know what I was looking for. Emails? Messages? I started with her iMessage history, synced to the laptop. I scrolled back, my eyes scanning for my dad's name, Richard. And there it was. Not one or two messages. A thread. A long one. Going back? 6 months. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a party hookup. This was an affair. The messages were a sickening mix of logistics and coded affection. They used burner email accounts for the explicit stuff, but the planning was right there in the open.
Can't make dinner Thursday. Richard needs me to review some briefs.
Briefs. I felt the bile rise in my throat.
Are you sure Michael won't be suspicious if you go to the gallery opening with me?
Don't worry. I told him it's a networking event for work. He's happy I'm so dedicated to my career.
Every message was a tiny dagger, twisting in a wound that was getting deeper and deeper. The gallery openings I encouraged her to go to. The late nights at the office I never questioned. The business trip my father took to Chicago a few months back. The one she just happened to have a design conference in the same city, the same weekend. I had even driven her to the airport. I'd kissed her goodbye and told her to have a great time. I was their accomplice, their fool. I kept scrolling, a glutton for punishment. The messages about the bachelor party were the worst.
It's a risk, Amelia. What if someone sees you?
It's perfect. It's the last place he would ever expect me to be. Leo rented that huge house. You can sneak me in the back entrance. It'll be our little secret. A final thrill before the cage is locked.
The cage. Was that how she saw marriage to me? A cage? I felt like I was outside my own body watching a stranger's life implode. I needed to find the more. The text message promised more. The affair was horrific, a life-altering betrayal. But was it the worst part? It felt like it. What else could there be? I dug deeper. I opened her cloud storage, the one linked to her design portfolio. There were folders for clients, for projects, for inspiration. And then I saw one that was out of place. The folder was labeled Contingency. What kind of contingency? My finger hovered over the trackpad, trembling. Part of me screamed to stop, to close the laptop, delete the video, and just walk away from it all. To pretend none of it ever happened. But I couldn't. I had to know. I had to see the full extent of the rot at the core of my life. I clicked it. The folder contained 3 documents. The first was a signed and notarized prenuptial agreement. My prenup. The one my father, as my lawyer, had drafted for me. The one Amelia had signed without a single complaint, saying she was marrying me for love, not for money. But this version was different. It had annotations, tracked changes from an anonymous user. The changes fundamentally altered key clauses, especially those related to alimony and asset division in the case of infidelity. My father had explained every clause to me, but seeing these proposed changes, I realized how easily the language could be manipulated, how a few added words here and there could create loopholes big enough to drive a truck through. The second document was an email thread, not iMessages, an exported PDF of a thread from one of those encrypted email services. The participants were A and R, Amelia and Richard. The subject line was, "The long game." My breath caught in my throat. I opened it. The emails detailed a plan. A cold, calculated, and monstrous plan. It wasn't just about an affair. It was about my money, my inheritance. My father, facing some financial trouble I knew nothing about, bad investments it seemed, had decided that his son's assets were the solution. They weren't planning on running away together. No, that was too simple. The plan was for Amelia to marry me, to play the perfect wife for a year or two. Then, she would file for divorce, using a cleverly fabricated infidelity on my part. She would use the altered prenup, which they apparently planned to swap out before the final signing, to take me for as much as she could. And my father, my own father, would be her legal counsel, reluctantly representing her against his own son to make it all look legitimate. He would then get a substantial cut of the settlement. I was reading a script for the systematic destruction of my own life, written by the 2 people I trusted most in the world. The video wasn't a mistake that got out. It was leverage. The final email in the thread made that clear. It was from my dad.
The party is the perfect opportunity to create a little insurance, a bit of mutually assured destruction. If you ever get cold feet or think about backing out, remember that I have evidence that could ruin you just as easily as you could ruin me. We're in this together, Amelia, till the end.
He was planning to film them together as blackmail against her, to keep her in line. So who sent the video to me? The anonymous texter. It had to be someone else, someone at that party who saw them, filmed them, and decided I needed to know the truth. Who? Leo? One of my other friends? That was a question for later. Right now, I was staring at the 3rd document in the contingency folder. And this, you guys, this was the worst part. This was the part that made the affair, the financial plot, all of it, feel like a paper cut compared to a gaping chest wound. It was a life insurance policy, a brand new one, taken out on me 3 weeks ago. Amelia was the sole beneficiary. The value was $5 million, and the application had been fast-tracked and approved by an underwriter at a firm where my father had a major client account. It was all legal, all above board. But it wasn't the policy itself that made my blood freeze and my stomach heave. It was a small checked box under the additional riders section, a double indemnity clause. For those of you who don't know, double indemnity means the policy pays out double the amount in the case of accidental death. They weren't just planning to divorce me. They were weighing their options. A messy divorce on one hand, a tragic accident on the other. And my father, the man who taught me how to ride a bike, the man who put his hand on my shoulder and told me I was doing it right, was helping her do the math. I pushed back from the desk, a strangled, guttural sound escaping my throat. I stumbled into the bathroom and threw up, my body violently rejecting the poison I had just ingested. I braced myself against the cold tiles, my reflection a pale, hollowed-out stranger in the mirror. The front door clicked open. "Honey, I'm home," she called out, her voice a cheerful, sickening melody that would forever be tainted. "I brought you a cronut." I stared at my own reflection, at the ghost looking back at me. The storm inside me had passed. All that was left was a terrifying, dead calm, the kind of calm you feel in the eye of a hurricane. She was home. It was time for the show to begin. If you're not subscribed, you need to hit that button now, because you are not going to want to miss what happens next. I splashed cold water on my face, took a deep breath, and walked out of the bathroom. I had to compose myself. The man who had run out of his office in a blind panic a few hours ago was gone. In his place was someone else, someone cold and calculating. Someone who now understood the stakes were infinitely higher than a broken heart. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about survival. Amelia was in the kitchen, humming to herself as she put the pastry box on the counter. She was wearing a yoga outfit, looking healthy and vibrant and completely oblivious. She turned and gave me one of her 1,000-watt smiles.
Hey, you. You look a little pale. Tough day with the spreadsheets?
The casual, loving concern in her voice was like a physical blow. How could she be so good at this? How could this entire life be a stage and her performance so flawless? I had to play my part. Yeah, I said, my voice hoarse. I cleared my throat. Yeah, just one of those days. Drained.
Well, I have the cure.
She tapped the box.
And I was thinking, maybe we could open that expensive bottle of wine you've been saving tonight to celebrate being this close to the big day.
Celebrate. She wanted to celebrate. The audacity was breathtaking. I looked at her, really looked at her, searching for any flicker of the monster I now knew was hiding behind those beautiful eyes. There was nothing, just the woman I thought I loved. Sure, I said. Sounds perfect. I needed to think. I needed to get away from her before the mask I was wearing cracked. Actually, you know what? I think I just need some air. I'm gonna go for a quick walk, clear my head. She frowned, a perfect little wrinkle of concern between her brows.
Is everything okay, Michael? You seem off.
I'm fine, just wedding jitters maybe. It's all getting very real. It was the most honest thing I'd said. It was real, all right, just not in the way she thought. Before she could protest, I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. The moment I was in the hallway, I leaned against the wall, my legs shaking. I'd done it. I'd survived the first 5 minutes. Who sent the video? Who was my anonymous guardian angel? I thought back to the party. Leo was my best man, my brother in all but blood. Could he have known something? He was always a little wary of Amelia, said she was too polished. I dismissed it as jealousy. Maybe it was intuition. I called him. Dude, what's up? He answered, his voice cheerful. Leo, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be 100% honest with me. It's important. My tone must have scared him. His voice dropped. Okay, what is it? The bachelor party, I said, my voice low. Did you see anything? Anything out of the ordinary? Specifically, with my dad? There was a pause, a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. Why are you asking me this, Mike? He said, his voice cautious. Just answer the question, Leo, please. He sighed. It was a weary, troubled sound. Look, man, I didn't want to be the one to say anything. I saw him talking to some woman in the hallway. I was pretty wasted, but it looked intense. I didn't see her face clearly. I figured it was none of my business. Old guys get lonely, I don't know. What did she look like, Leo? What was she wearing? I don't know, it was dark, maybe a green dress, dark hair. Honestly, Mike, I thought maybe your dad was just having a midlife crisis moment. I didn't want to blow it up and ruin your weekend. It wasn't him. He saw something, but he didn't know who it was. He wouldn't have just sat on a video of Amelia. He would have called me, drunk or not, and told me to get my ass home. So who else? I mentally ran through the guest list. And then it hit me. There was one other person there who wasn't part of my core friend group. My cousin, Ethan. He's younger, a tech kid who is pathologically attached to his phone, always filming everything. He's a bit of an outsider in the family, always quiet, always observing. And he'd never liked my dad. My father had handled my uncle's messy divorce years ago, and Ethan felt his mom got a raw deal. He was polite, but there was always a simmering resentment there. He would have the motive and the means. I found his number and texted him. Did you send me a video? The reply came back almost instantly. You got it then. Check your email. Subject: the rest of the story. My heart hammered against my ribs. I raced back to my car, pulled out my laptop, and tethered it to my phone's hotspot. There it was. An email from a Proton Mail account. Inside were more videos. Not just the 17-second clip. He had more. Different angles. And audio. This time, the audio was clearer. He must have used some software to clean it up. It was from later that night, after I'd been hauled out to the fire pit. Amelia and my father were in the kitchen, thinking they were alone. Ethan was filming from the dark pantry, the door cracked just enough.
You're being reckless. Someone could have seen us.
Relax. They're all drunk boys mesmerized by a fire. Besides, this was your idea, remember? The final thrill?
There was a mocking tone in his voice.
It's not a thrill when you're grabbing me in a public hallway, Richard. We have a plan. Stick to it. Is the policy finalized?
It is. 5 million. Double indemnity just like we discussed. It's a beautiful little safety net. Though hopefully we won't need to use it. A clean divorce in a year or two is much less complicated.
And you're sure he won't contest the prenup you have in your file?
He trusts his old man. He won't even read the final version before he signs it. He'll just see my signature as the witness and assume it's the same one we all reviewed together. The boy, for all his business acumen, is still naive.
Naive. That's what my own father called me. I closed the laptop. That was it. That was all the confirmation I needed. My cousin had just handed me the gun, the bullets, and the motive. He'd probably been sitting on this, waiting for the right moment, and decided the impending wedding was it. He didn't just save me from a bad marriage, he might have just saved my life. I now had two choices. I could go to the police. I had conspiracy to commit fraud and maybe even solicitation of murder, though the language was vague. It would be a messy public spectacle. My family name would be dragged through the mud. My life would become a true crime documentary. Or I could handle this myself. I thought about the pain they had planned to inflict on me. The cold, calculated way they were going to dismantle my life, my finances, and my spirit. A public shaming felt insufficient. It felt like justice, but not retribution. I wanted them to feel a fraction of the humiliation and terror that I was feeling. I wanted to turn their own plan, their own long game, against them. A new plan began to form in my mind. A terrifying, risky, but deeply satisfying plan. They wanted a performance? I would give them a goddamn masterpiece. I walked back into the apartment. Amelia was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. The bottle of expensive wine was on the coffee table, uncorked and breathing. Hey, I said, my voice steady now. You're right. We should celebrate. Let's forget the jitters. Let's just be us. She looked up, a relieved smile spreading across her face.
That's my guy. I'll get the glasses.
As she walked to the kitchen, I pulled out my phone. I went to the wedding website, the one she had spent months designing. I clicked on the RSVP management link. And I sent out a blast email to every single person on our guest list. The subject line was simple. A special announcement from Michael and Amelia. The email read, "Hi everyone, due to some unforeseen circumstances, we've decided to move our wedding ceremony up. We know this is sudden, but we just can't wait to be married. The new plan is to have a small, intimate ceremony this Friday at my father's house, with the reception to follow as planned on Saturday. We understand this is last minute, and many of you won't be able to make the ceremony, but we wanted to share our joy with you all. See you at the party." I hit send. Then I forwarded the confirmation email to two people, Amelia and my father. My phone buzzed a minute later. It was my dad. "Call me, now." I ignored it. Amelia walked back in with 2 glasses. "Who was that?" "Just a spam call," I said, smiling. "Now, where's that wine?" She poured 2 glasses, her face glowing with excitement.
Moved the wedding up? To your dad's house? Michael, what's going on?
I can't wait," I said, looking her straight in the eye. "I want to be your husband. Now." I talked to my dad earlier. He said it was fine. He'd love to host. A small, family-only thing. Just us, him, your mom. Simple. I wanted to surprise you. Her mind was clearly racing, trying to figure out how this new development fit into their plan. But to object would be suspicious. How could a woman so in love not want to marry the man of her dreams as soon as possible?
Oh, Michael, it's spontaneous. I love it.
She raised her glass.
To us, and to no more waiting.
I clinked my glass against hers. To us, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. And to getting everything we deserve. The trap was set. The players were in position. They thought they were nearing the end of their long game. They had no idea I was about to start my own. If you have ever been in a situation where you had to fake it to survive, drop a comment below. I honestly need to know I'm not alone in feeling this way. The next 48 hours were the most surreal of my life. I was an actor, playing the role of the excited, head-over-heels groom-to-be, all while cohabitating with my own aspiring Black Widow. Amelia was a whirlwind of activity, feigning excitement while I knew her mind was scrambling. She made calls to her mom, to the caterer, to the florist, playing the part of the flustered but thrilled bride.
Can you believe it, Mom? He just couldn't wait. Yes, at his father's house. I know, it's so sudden, but isn't it romantic?
She was trying to control the narrative, to keep their plan from derailing. My father was a different story. He called me a dozen times. I ignored every call. He sent texts ranging from furious to pleading. Michael, we need to discuss this. This is not how you make a major life decision. Your mother would be very disappointed in this rash behavior. Son, please, call me. I'm worried about you. Worried about me. The nerve was almost impressive. Finally, I sent him a single text back. Everything is fine. Just want to be married. See you Friday. We need you to officiate. That, I knew, would stop him in his tracks. Forcing him to officiate his own co-conspirator's wedding to his son was a move so audacious he wouldn't know how to react. He couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. He was cornered. His reply was a simple, "Fine." The day of the wedding arrived. It was a beautiful, sunny Texas afternoon. His house was a grand, imposing stone structure in a wealthy suburb, a monument to a life built on lies. As I pulled up, I saw a few cars already there. My mom, who had been roped into this under the guise of romantic spontaneity. Amelia's mother, looking flustered but happy. And a few of my father's close friends, the ones he considered his peers. I'd invited them personally. I needed an audience. I walked inside. Amelia was already there, in a simple white sundress she'd bought for the occasion. She looked beautiful. It made me sick. She rushed over and kissed me.
I can't believe we're doing this.
She whispered, her eyes sparkling. Neither can I said. My father emerged from his study. He looked haggard, dark circles under his eyes. He was wearing a suit, looking every bit the part of the proud father of the groom. He pulled me into a stiff, awkward hug.
Michael, we should have talked.
Nothing to talk about, I said cheerfully, pulling away. It's my wedding day. We gathered in the large living room that opened onto a patio overlooking a manicured garden. Maybe 15 people in total. It was intimate, personal, the perfect setting for a complete and utter demolition. My father stood before us, a book in his hand, a pained expression on his face that he was trying to pass off as paternal emotion. Amelia stood beside me, her hand in mine. Her skin was cold. He began to speak. The traditional words about love, commitment, and union. Every word felt like a profanity. He looked at me, his eyes pleading, trying to send me some kind of signal. I just smiled back, a wide, empty grin. He got to the part about objections. If anyone has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now, or forever hold your peace. The room was silent. I let the silence hang there for a beat, 2 beats, 3. I could feel Amelia's hand start to tremble in mine. My father's eyes darted around the room. Actually, I said, my voice clear and calm. I do. A collective gasp went through the small crowd. Amelia's head whipped around to face me, her mask of bridal bliss shattering into a million pieces. Her face was a canvas of pure shock and dawning horror.
Michael, what are you doing? Don't joke around.
I've never been more serious in my life, I said, turning to face our guests. I'm sorry to have brought you all here under false pretenses. There isn't going to be a wedding today. My mom stood up. Michael, what on earth is going on? I looked past her, directly at my father. Why don't you tell her, Dad? Or should I call you Richard? It seems Amelia prefers the more formal approach. My father went white as a sheet. He looked like he'd been struck by lightning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't you? I pulled out my phone. I was thinking we could start the celebration with a little movie. A short film, really. A story of love and betrayal. It was filmed on location at a lovely house on Lake Travis. I airdropped the 17-second video to the large smart TV on the living room wall. A second later, the image flickered to life. The shaky hallway, the muffled music, and the two of them locked in their sordid embrace. The room erupted. Amelia's mother screamed. My mom stared, her hand over her mouth, tears instantly welling in her eyes. My father's friends looked on, their faces a mixture of disgust and disbelief. That's just the trailer, of course, I said into the stunned silence. The feature film is even better. It's a thriller, about a brilliant lawyer and a beautiful young designer who team up to defraud the lawyer's naive son out of his inheritance. It's got everything. Forged legal documents, secret email accounts, a plot to fake infidelity for a massive divorce settlement. Amelia was shaking her head, backing away from me.
He's lying. He's crazy. I don't know what he's talking about.
Am I? I held up my phone again. Then you won't mind if I play the audio from your little kitchen strategy session? The part where you talk about the life insurance policy? The one with the double indemnity clause? That was the final blow. My father visibly crumpled, sagging against the fireplace mantel like his bones had turned to dust. Amelia just stared at me, her face stripped of all its beauty, leaving only a raw, ugly snarl of hatred. The performance was over. I have everything, I said, my voice dropping low, for only them to hear amidst the chaos. Every email, every video, every document. My cousin Ethan is a whiz with technology. He sends his regards, by the way, Dad. Considers this settling an old family score. I then turned back to our horrified guests. I apologize again for ruining your afternoon. My mother and I will be leaving. As for these two, I gestured to the wreckages of Amelia and my father. I'm sure they have a lot to discuss. For instance, who gets to keep the $5 million insurance policy now? I walked over to my mom, put my arm around her, and guided her out of the house, away from the explosion I had just detonated. I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. The fallout was biblical. Amelia vanished. After I left, I'm told she and my father had a spectacular, screaming argument before she ran out, got in her car, and disappeared. Her mother called me a week later, crying, asking if I knew where she was. I didn't. I transferred the remaining 6 months of rent for our apartment to her and told her to have Amelia's things moved out. I never saw or heard from her again. I have no idea where she is, and I don't care to find out. My mother, God bless her, filed for divorce the next day. She was heartbroken, but she is a woman of immense strength. She saw the truth for what it was and acted. The divorce is still ongoing, but it's not a contest. He lost everything that mattered the moment he put his hands on Amelia. His law firm's partners asked for his resignation after rumors of the scandal started to leak. His reputation is in tatters. He's a pariah. He has tried to contact me, sending long, rambling emails full of excuses and self-pity. I've read none of them. He is dead to me. As for me, I'm recovering. I sold the apartment. Too many ghosts. I moved to a different part of the city, a place with no memories. I'm in therapy, trying to untangle the complex knot of grief, anger, and betrayal. Some days are good. Some days I still hear the music from that party or see a woman with dark hair and my stomach plummets. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a messy, jagged path. But I'm walking it. I reconnected with my cousin Ethan. We're closer now. We have a shared understanding. He told me he filmed them because he saw Amelia sneak in and his gut told him something was wrong. He said he was sorry he waited so long to tell me, but he wanted to be sure he had everything. He didn't just give me proof, he gave me a weapon. And I used it. I didn't go to the police. The evidence, while damning, might have been hard to prosecute as a criminal case, leading to a he said, she said nightmare. But the evidence was more than enough to destroy their lives in a much more personal, surgical way. I dismantled their world with the truth. And for me, that was justice enough. So that's my story. The story of how my picture-perfect life was a lie, built by the two people I should have been able to trust the most. It's a cautionary tale about how the most beautiful faces can hide the darkest intentions. But it's also a story about survival, about finding the strength to walk through fire and come out the other side, scarred but whole. I lost a fiancé and a father, but I found my own backbone. I learned that I am stronger than I ever thought possible. Thank you for listening to this, for letting me share this insane chapter of my life. It's been cathartic. If you made it this far, hit that like button so I know I'm not just shouting into the void. And remember to subscribe, because my life from here on out has got to be less dramatic, but I promise it will be a lot more real. And I'll be taking you all along for the ride.